On my recent trip to the Philippines, I took some time for an amazing experience, snorkeling with some of the largest and gentlest creatures in the ocean. And I learned about a small community's decision to turn an adversary into an ally. Here's my exclusive story on the whale sharks of Tanawan. My Ohio traveling companions and I are in a banca, a native Philippine fishing boat, near the village of Tanawan on the island of Cebu. We're on our way to snorkel with the whale sharks.
They're the largest fish in the ocean.
Lucas County's former dog warden, Tom Skeldon, has spent years on and off in the Philippines studying the people and the marine life. He's our guide and interpreter.
And they get up to 45 feet long, and they'll weigh 12 tons, which is twice as big as a very large elephant.
As recently as 5 years ago, the fishermen and the whale sharks had an uneasy relationship.
They were having problems with these whale sharks getting entangled in fishermen's nets, fish traps, fish corrals, etc.
The fishermen knew they could attract the giant sea creatures by tossing handfuls of tiny shrimp called krill into the water.
They found out that people like to go out and see these animals and even interact with them.
So now the whale sharks are the area's largest tourist attraction.
It's provided an alternative wage for these fishermen.
And researchers have flocked to Tanawan to study the giants.
And they can identify individuals by the spots. So it's like a fingerprint. Well, those researchers have said they've identified well over 200 separate whale sharks.
Despite their size, the sharks are graceful around their small human visitors.
But I was amazed, and I think you probably were too, Jim, how nimble they were around all these people.
The tourists are instructed to keep their distance. Anyone harassing the sharks is required to leave, because the fishermen now know the whale sharks are the village moneymaker.
To see the whale sharks, instead of as trouble, to be an asset, to be hoarded, protected, and treasured.
And an inspiration.
It's sort of a humbling experience.
Now, to be sure, there are some critics of the whale shark program. Some say the hand feeding by humans disrupts the shark's natural behavior. And scientific research is underway to determine whether that is actually the case.
But they do seem to have found a balance that works for that community.
At least the fishermen sure have, and really it brings in quite a lot of money. They've already gone from what was basically a little fisherman village there to a newly constructed tourist area, which really would be the size of what you'd expect maybe in a fairly large city.
So what's it feel like when you first get in the water with these things? It must be, if they're the size of a bus, must be very intimidating.
Well, the one came up right next to me, and they will decide how close they're going to get to you. They can sense humans right next to them. So one came up behind me, outside of my peripheral vision, and I found myself looking straight in the eye and going, okay. But, you know, as I said, they really do know where they are and where you are, and so they won't bump into you. They're real sensitive right around the narrowest part of their tail, so you don't want to get next to that. But so long as you don't, you're okay.
Well, thanks for sharing that experience.
It was an amazing thing.